Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Monday night at Darul Uloom Kantaria in Bharuch, Gujarat, India, Monday, the 26th of Ramadan, 1444, corresponding with the English date, 17th of April 2023. This Majlis took place after the Taraweeh Salat. Hazrat Wala is saying that I was actually going to speak about something else, but when the Hafiz recited, our son here recited, then my mind went to somewhere else, another mazmoon and topic, and I requested for that particular kitab then. On one occasion, Hazrat Tanvi came and he sat down to give waz, and then he just remained silent, and then he said that this youngster, this child recited, due to which it has affected my heart tremendously. Now I cannot even speak and give waz. That was the amount of effects, or how deeply they were touched by the recitation of the Quran Majid. So it came in my heart now to actually speak about this particular topic of the Quran. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to say that Quran se barkar ke koi waiz nahi, that greater than the Quran, there is no admonisher. There is no admonisher, there is no waiz greater than the Quran. Hazrat Maulana Ali Mia has written, I've seen that myself, but I'm just telling you how Maulana Ali Mia has written it. He says that I used to sit in the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, and he just went on reciting verse after verse of the Quran Majid. He was a master Hafiz of the Quran. Rather, he would lead and recite Quran Majid in the Khanqa of Hazrat Tanvi. We're speaking of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab. So tilawat, Allah Ta'ala bless us with the tilawat and understanding the Quran, making amal on it, keeping it near and dear to our heart, loving the Quran. Allah give us the tawfiq and the hidayat of making azmat, or putting the greatness of the Quran in our heart. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that I'm leaving you and going. I'm leaving you with two things. One is the Quran and the other is my sunnat. And if you hold on to it tightly, then lan tadillu. How we normally translate it is that you will not go astray. Now Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, and we acknowledge him, and I spent time with him, I accept what he had said, that he would translate it in this way, that you would not become confused and restless. If you hold on to the Quran, then you would not become confused, hayran, pareshan, MashaAllah, here there is a great passion for the Quran Majid. Now here I have the kitab in front of me, Asharatu Qawaid fi Tazkiyatin Nufus, 10 principles in the purification of the nafs. Now this is Allah's kalam. So here Allah Ta'ala is saying, لَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. So we learn from this here, the first one was that Allah Ta'ala bestowed a favor on the believers when He sent in their midst a messenger from amongst themselves. That was the first ni'mat and the favor of Allah to the believers, that He sent a Rasul from amongst themselves, and he recites Quran to them. He recites to them his verses and purifies them from shirk and other evils and teaches them the book and things of benefit. So we learn from this also that the tilawat of all are not the same. Rather, there is a way in reciting the Quran. The hadith teaches us that we should recite the Quran in the manner of fi lahnil Arab, or the way the Arab would recite the Quran Majid. Ramadan has a special connection with the Quran Majid. Now, if you are going to take your nafs and follow your nafs, it will take you and finish you up. Rather, keep the Quran in front of you. You know, when I went to London, then I was told that there are many people that come here. They are alim and they know so much of deen, but they won't even read out to the people a few ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hazrat Wala is saying, not a problem, you came here for correction, but at least make your maqsad that of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, because this year is our axis, the Qutbul A'zam. It is our Chakki. So this here is actually the words of Imam Ghazali. This is actually the words of Imam Ghazali rahimahullah. You know, the main part of everything, the center point upon which everything rotates. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is saying, Ballighu anni walau ayah, that pass on from me, even though it may be just one ayat. So there are so many different points and directions in which we can make a tabligh. So here, ballighu, pass on from me. This here is a command. Now every alim should keep this in his mind. Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb, when he used to sit down and he used to have meals somewhere, then without the host even asking, he would say some talk of deen. And he would go on to say that he has fulfilled his right now and duty. Now I want to do my duty. And he would say something about the deen. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb went to Kopaganj. And after the eating, he started speaking about deen. So both my shuyukh were just like that. They would pass on the deen. And what can I say? He started correcting them. Rather, he even reprimanded them. Hazrat Maulana Abrahul Haq, he was an embodiment of the Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. So no person can say or be relaxed and understand him to be free of this duty. And no person can say, I said to my son or to my daughter, but they don't want to listen. Will you give that answer to Allah tomorrow on the day of Qiyamah? Allah Ta'ala bless us with the true understanding of deen. Allama Kashaf, a Mu'tazili alim, says about this year, when we're doing Dawat and Tabligh, also we should understand, Mata nubashiru. When should we say this? We should even understand that. You can't be doing that when the man has his tools in his hands and he's on his way to the fields. I mean, he may just say something absolutely disastrous at that time. That's not the right time for you to tell him that. وَبِمَنْ نُبَاشِرِ, and who are you going to say it to? That also you need to understand. وَكَيْفَ نُبَاشِرُ, and how are you going to say it and pass on this message? You need to keep all these things in your mind. So Allah Ta'ala sent the Nabi, and then the Nabi made tilawat, and he also purified the nafs, and he purifies them from shirk and other evils. So the Nabi will be the grand intercessor on the day of Qiyamah, Shafi'a Azam. Hazrat Maulana Abrar Saheb in Turkesar, he used to tell me, he was a muhakkik and one of deep research. He used to say that I used to prepare, he was a teacher of Jalalain Sharif. I used to go through so many tafasir, but when I used to go then through the Bayanul Quran, then I would understand it completely and truly, rather fully. So we can do what we want, but if we don't make Islah and purify this nafs of ours, we would spoil our name. We will become badnam. And rather, we would also bring disrepute not only to ourselves, but rather to the deen as well. Hazrat Ja'far Sadiq asks Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala regarding fahm, regarding understanding of the deen. And he goes on to answer, he says, when a person is able to distinguish between the two, which one is harmful and which one is beneficial, then this is understanding. So then Imam Abu Hanifa then goes on to say, no, that is not a deep understanding and faham which we would say. Rather, you need to be able to understand that and distinguish from both are right, not one right and one harmful, both are correct. Meaning, at this time, must I sit in the gathering and in the majlis to listen to the talk, or must I go and read Quran there at the back or Salat there at the back? Both are good, but you need to understand at that time what is the right thing to do. You know how much I heard this year? How much I heard this year? For 40 years I've been hearing this year. Hazrat Tanvi used to say, now at that time there were some people like that Hazrat Tanvi was giving his majlis, but they are sitting there at the back and reciting Quran. And then he would pass on the message and say that if these people come here, they would benefit more. So this is actually the faham that we are speaking about, that both are good, but at that point in time, what's the right thing to do? Meaning, here in this gathering, you will be able to understand talks of deen. You will actually be able to understand the secrets of this path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, due to which you will progress. Whereas there, you are merely in your own place, you are stagnated, you may be doing good, but here you will benefit much more. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb used to say people would go 1 year to Deoband and they would say that I am Farid from Deoband. What do you know about the maslak of Deoband? Maulana Ali Mia Saheb came to Darul Uloom Deoband and he spoke about the maslak of Deobandiyat. That what is this Deobandiyat all about? You know, when Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb, when it came to the point where he was going to teach us tafsir, it was Jalalain. Then he said, no, for now, we will not start off with Jalalain. Rather, let us start off with Bayanul Quran. And in Bayanul Quran, I want you also specifically to go over that ayat which specifically discusses and deals with that of character. And then he started teaching us those ayat in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes mention of nifaq and hypocrisy. And he went on to say that this is the foundation. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to bring in yourself, and this is what you need to remove from yourself, this type of hypocrisy. And then once that is done, the path or the road will then be open and it will be easy for you. Now, how many times the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had been washed? So for us, we're not speaking about shaqq sadr, but we are speaking about sharh sadr. That how will our hearts and bosoms be opened up. So the youngster that recited here recited absolutely amazingly. He ripped and rather tore my heart apart and put it into pieces. So this here is the Quran Majid. So when the Nabi will become helpless in his intercession, and even the Malaika, at that time the Quran will stand and start interceding, because the Quran and the Nabi both are ghair, and the Quran, the Nabi and the Nabi and the Malaika both are, in essence, it is other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Quran, we cannot say that about it. Rather, it is the sifat and the quality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the rank of the Quran. So the Quran is one of the greatest things for the purification of the nafs. After all, it is a book of purification, its source, its fountain, and its basis. The person who wants purification for himself should seek it in the Quran. Hazrat Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala said that Allah ta'ala guarantees the person who follows the Quran that he will not go astray in this world, nor will he suffer misery in the year after. He then went on to, in trying to substantiate, he says, فَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا يَضِلُّ وَلَا يَشْقَى. He read these words of the Quran, then he who follows my guidance will neither go astray nor will he fall into misery. Now there was this person, Dipti, collector, who used to work in the government offices, and he would recite so much of Quran. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb used to remark and say that this is a wali of Allah. But you people will not even understand him to be a wali. And he was trying to take out these misconceptions that were in the hearts of the people and in us, while he was teaching us the suluk, that we are thinking that suluk and tasawwuf is that person who has torn clothes on. But we do not understand the person who is reciting Quran to be a wali and a saint, a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala says that the Quran is the complete cure from all spiritual and physical maladies of this world and the Akhirat. And then the next one, principle that Hazrat Wala speaks about, is that about following the perfect example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. There is a good example for you in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for him who hopes to meet Allah and fears the last day and remembers Allah a lot. Now Ibn Kathir rahimahullah states that this ayat is a major principle for emulating the words, actions and life conditions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. هذه الآية الكريمة أصل كبير في التأسي برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في أقواله وأفعاله وأحواله. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with this here. One is the recitation of the Quran Majid, which we spoke about, and the other one is for following the perfect example of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.